Hey sports fans, I taped this piece of sheet metal to this old radiator because I want to show you folks something. A normal hose clamp, they're made out of stainless steel, everything except for, at least usually this bolt right here, that can be made out of just regular old steel. And a lot of times that bolt will rust. That's actually a worm drive, okay? Goes against those notches cut in the hose clamp, and as you screw with the threads, it just proceeds to the next notch, and that's what tightens the clamp. But quite often these bolts will rust out and the threads will rust out on them, and this bolt will just spin and it won't loosen the hose clamp at all. Now, normally you can just take a grinder and just grind the hose clamp and get it off, but there was this one time, one of my buddy's cars, he had a situation similar to this. That's why I taped this piece of sheet metal here. The core support of the car came down like that, right near the radiator hose where it clamps onto the radiator. And we tried loosening up that hose clamp, but the bolt on it just turned, the screw, whatever you want to call it, it just turned and the clamp didn't loosen up. Now, being the situation that it was, you can imagine if this was on the car, right in this area, there'd be either the alternator or air conditioning or power steering pump. So there just wasn't room to get a grinder in there. So there's no way you could grind that hose clamp off. And it was just about impossible to get to because it was pretty much boxed in by the engine accessories on this side, the radiator on that side, the radiator shroud on this side, and part of the core support on that side. It was just about impossible to get to. There was room to get a screwdriver down on the hose clamp, but that's all you could do. And since the hose clamp didn't loosen, even though we were turning the screw on the clamp, we were wondering what the heck we were going to do. How the heck we were ever going to get that radiator hose off. Now I sat and thought about this for some time, how the heck I'm going to get this clamp off, and I finally came up with this. Now this is going to be a two-man operation. If you're in the exact same situation as we were in. I had my buddy crawl underneath the car with a piece of copper tubing in the ground of my welder. And I just had him hold that to the bottom of that clamp right there. And while he was holding that copper tube on the radiator hose clamp, I came down from the top with my welder with the electrode like that. I just touched that clamp, and it immediately just burnt it in half. And I'll show you how easy it is. And you can do this without doing any damage at all to your radiator hose or radiator. I'm not going to be using this ground because I just don't have enough hands. But I'll just touch this welding rod to this hose clamp. I'll just show you how easy it is to burn them off. You can set your welder at a pretty high amperage. I got her at 120. And then you just take this electrode and just kind of pretend you're welding on it. You don't really have to worry about hurting the radiator as long as the clamp isn't touching the ground clamp isn't touching any steel part of the radiator or metal part of the radiator. The radiator hose will insulate the current flow, so we shouldn't have any spark if we accidentally touch the radiator. Let's see what happens. Turn up my amperage a little bit more. I'm going to turn up the amperage to about 175. Amperage clicked all the way in on my weld. Okay, about 175 amps. So let's see what happens. Look at that. Look at that, sports fans. Can you see that? The hose clamp just popped right off. Let's see if I can. You can see? It did absolutely no damage to the radiator or hose. So, if you're ever in a situation where you need to get a radiator's hose clamp off, even if it's not difficult to get to, this is about the quickest way that you can remove a radiator hose clamp when you're in the situation where the screw on it will turn but the clamp itself will not loosen up. Now see how nicely that came off? Can't hardly do it slicker. And it didn't hurt the radiator hose at all. So if you liked what you saw here, I'd appreciate it if you liked, shared, subscribed, do everything it takes to make this the #1 channel on YouTube. And until next time, we'll see you here on the Fix Yourself channel.